They just hit Saudi Arabia so hard, in my opinion, with this blockade.
So, tell me how you read the timing of the blockade. How
The
do you
time is
interpret the timing? Why today? Exactly. Mm.
my understanding is that the communication between Iran and Yemen is perfect. They know they're so much coordinated. Everything they do together. And the timing is important because it seems that there are some sort of, today we've learned from the spokesperson of the Iranian foreign ministry that they're receiving some messages from the West. They want to negotiate, they want to do this. But the
Mhm.
perception is, as the head of Iranian parliament said, that the United States is sending a lot of weapons in the region.
Mhm.
And when you send a lot of weapons, it means that you want to continue the war.
Yeah.
You're deceiving the other side in order to reshape, reorganize your forces in the region to attack Iran again. That's the perception on the part of Iranians. And they're not going to buy this argument that the United States wants to talk or wants to ceasefire. Doesn't mean anything.
Mhm.
The only reason that would bring some sort of positive sign would be the United States removing all these forces from the West Asia. The day
Mhm.
that they try to do that or withdrawing from the West Asia, that would be a positive signs for Iranians. This is important, and I think their perception is that the war is going on and it's gonna escalate. That's why you see Yemen is coming in. That's why you see the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and basically they're preparing themselves to be in a better shape when the war, the United States decides to escalate. Maybe they're talking about Israel. Maybe wants to join the war. We don't know that, but Israelis are somehow animated if you look at their media. But this is the way it is. The Iranian scene, the situation, Pepe. That's why you see today, as we talk, they're hitting Bahrain and Kuwait. Let me bring
Yes.
the footage that today there is a direct hit in Kuwait. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
the video.
Mhm.
You see,
Mhm.
nothing is
Mhm.
going on. The Americans are not attacking Iran. Yes, last night they attacked Iran, and then they said they were done with the attacks, but Iran is continuing the attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait because the United States has been vastly, they have been using these two countries to attack Iran. There is a new footage came out that you see they're moving a lot of weapons in Iran to the western part of Iran. I don't know what does that mean. Maybe the footage, I cannot confirm the footage is new or is an old footage. But if that's the case, it means Iran is preparing, considering, fighting on the ground, or maybe
On the ground.
keeping the borders, or they're somehow feeling that the United States is trying to manipulate or doing something at the borders, Iranian borders, or they want to
Good.
hit some targets inside Kuwait.
And borders on both sides, from Khuzestan to Balochistan. So Iran has to look at borders on both sides because, yes, of course, the Americans can try to infiltrate commandos via the borders easily, easily. So that's an enormous danger. And of course, the response is now is not 2-1 anymore. Now it's 3-1, sometimes 4-1. The the agenda now is to totally destroy these American bases, completely destroy them. They were destroyed to up to what, 70%, 80%. Now it has to be 100%. And that's why they continue to rebomb the same bases one day after another. And now it's relentless. And by the way, we always had a reconfirmation from Tehran that they are very, very happy with the Chinese because they are using the Beidou satellite system, which has been proven sterling in terms of accuracy. And okay, there's an extra information that we can't go public with that, but you may have an idea how sensitive that is that the military help to Iran from China has not ceased at all. On the contrary, this is as much as we can tell at the moment. It's beyond sensitive because obviously the Americans will go right for it, especially now that they have a renewed anti-China campaign everywhere. So, coming back to the key event today, Nima. It's what I had the opportunity to confirm with Yemen. The Yemen move today, it's part of a preemptive move. They did this today to preemptive what in Tehran and in Sana'a, and obviously they are talking about it full time, they identify as the beginning of a concerted, massive strategy against the whole of the axis of resistance. So it's not only against Iran, it's against Iran, against Yemen, against Hezbollah, against the militias in Iraq. So this Yemeni move already preempts that. In terms of in military terms, it's brilliant. And in terms of geopolitical vision, it's also brilliant. But when you go to Yemen and you talk to these guys, Nima, the guys who are part of the political council of Ansar Allah, wow, they are way qualified, educated, prepared, Asia to perfection. And they're very good at timing, as you can see today. So they completely destabilize Saudi Arabia, and they force Saudi Arabia to show its game. Because Saudi Arabia, until a few days ago, they were posing as they were interested in some sort of accommodation with Iran. They were part of the pre-Islamabad 1.0 meeting. They were supporting what the Pakistanis are doing in terms of the MOU, ceasefire, MOU, and all that. Now we're going to see. And of course, in the middle of all that, only a few days ago, comes the Saudi move to bomb the runway of Sana'a International Airport. And everybody is asking everybody else, why the hell did they do that? And this is against them. How come? So is this evidence that there is a power struggle going on in Riyadh right now? Could be. It's an extremely opaque system. Nobody really knows what goes on in Riyadh. Nobody. Not even the Americans know what goes on in Riyadh because their man is isolated. So this could be evidence of a power struggle inside Riyadh. This could be something to embarrass MBS, or option number 3, this was ordered by MBS. It had to be. So then he has skin in this game, and he's going to have to pay for inflicting the counter blockade on Saudi Arabia. Is because of his actions or actions that he green-lighted. Now Saudi Arabia is facing a naval blockade. So the beauty of the geopolitical instincts of the leadership in Sana'a is that they look at the chessboard as a whole. They see the importance of Yemen. They see the strategic place of Yemen. They analyze very well all the elements in the axis of resistance, and they plan their moves very, very carefully. So that explanation that I received only a few minutes ago makes sense. They had to do it today to preempt a massive attack against all vectors, against Yemen, against Hezbollah, against Iran, etc. So that's how important this is, and that's how dangerous this is.
Pepe, the United States, as we've learned and Washington Post reported, they had the reports from Europe that they're sending weapons, and it was confirmed on the part of Iranians. By the way, the head of Iranian parliament said, if you want to show some sort of positive signs, why are you sending a lot of weapons to the region? That doesn't make sense if you want to de-escalate. So he basically said, we're not going to be deceived by this sort of activity. They did this before, Pepe. It was revealed in the interview that Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, had recently, yesterday or the day before. There is an interview in Persian, and he said that we saw what was happening, with the American on one side talking about the ceasefire. They want a ceasefire, and we've been witnessing how they're moving and they're bringing a lot of weapons to the region. So the question on their part was that what are we gonna react? How are we gonna react? Are we gonna continue the fight, or we're going to negotiate? Because the United States was somehow asking severely that they want to negotiate, and sending messages from, to Pakistani, to
Via the
Qatari,
Pakistani.
all of them together. Then the calculation on their part was that, what if we say that we don't want to negotiate? How is that going to look, in the eyes of other nations, other countries, which are important?
Global
These
South.
countries are so important.
Mhm.
And then they have decided, we're gonna negotiate. That's not gonna diminish our military power. And Arakchi said in one of his talks at the parliament, Iranian parliament, he said that, I'm gonna do my job, you're gonna do your job. The army and the armed forces, IRGC, and the army of Iran, you're gonna get prepared for war. But I'm gonna do my job. My job is talking.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
that's going to bring some sort of sanity, we're going to do that. If not, we're going to fight. And the same
Mhm.
sentiment is happening right now. They feel that the war is going to happen.
Mhm.
And but the problem, Pepe, it's something deeper than that, in my opinion. When you
Mhm.
see Iran hitting the American bases in Jordan so accurately, is so important. And how are they gonna continue the war? They need those places to put their refueling tankers, their fighter jets, their equipment. In Bahrain and Kuwait are getting devastated with the attacks. I
Exactly.
don't see the United States putting the airplanes there, or in Qatar, or in Saudi Arabia. Nothing gonna happen in with the GCC countries.
Their plan is to transfer most of it to Israel. And if they do that, Israel is going to be bombed to death. Very simple. Very, very simple. Okay, everything that was in Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, etc., back to Israel, transfer to Israel. Okay, excellent. You have only one target, multiple targets in one very circumscribed area. So the Iran will go all the way and bomb everything to death. Yes, it's the only plan B they have for the moment, the Americans, because they are okay. Anybody with a brain can see that their bases are being exterminated, and it's only going to increase from now on. And what you said is absolutely correct in terms of, yes, Iran is ready for war. You want war? Okay, we are ready for total war. And if your total war starts today, we are ready. And not only Iran, Yemen basically saying through other means, we are ready. And if that starts, the militias in Iraq are getting ready. Not to mention Hezbollah, they are always ready. So this is it. If there is an American plan to, of course there is. We all know there is. We don't know the details because this is discussed by CENTCOM virtually every day for a multi-pronged attack on all these nodes of the axis of resistance. They are all ready. And once again, this Yemeni move, particularly today, that's the main reason to preempt all that. Will that be enough? We still don't know. It's too early. It's too early to tell. But it makes the American wishful thinking much more complicated, much more difficult. And once again, Nima, don't forget the major deadline: Strategic Petroleum Reserve, mid-August. We're getting there day by day. Now it's a little over 3 weeks. And of
The-
course, the idiot was yesterday trying to insert himself in the victory, the victory picture of the Spanish national squad, and he was bumped off unceremoniously. No, we don't want you here. That was fantastic because the whole planet saw it.
yeah, it was. Yeah. The players just said, go ahead.
Yeah, the
Just
players
don't
just said,
stay.
"Okay, okay, out. We don't want you here." That was
Yeah.
more than obvious, and the body language as well as all. Okay, very
Body language.
polite, shakes and all that, but the body language say, "Oh, we don't want you here." So that was, in fact, for the global South audience, that was at least 1 minute of, oh yeah, he deserves what he. That's it. But
Pepe,
back to our. Oh yes, go ahead. Back to our horrors. This week is going to be, wow. This week is going to be quite something
so
because
critical,
if the
in
Americans
my
want to try,
opinion.
yeah, if the Americans want to try something foolish, they will try probably this week, because 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now will be too late. Go ahead, Nima, please. Sorry to
The
interrupt you.
problem, Pepe, is not just about the fighter jets. They have to keep somewhere the American forces. These HIMARS, these missiles that they're using, they're not. There is no capabilities in these countries, in Kuwait and Bahrain, to anyone else, other than American forces, use those weapons. That's why they have to keep the forces in the region. And as long as they have these forces, they're going to get hit by Iranian missiles and drones.
True.
And
Mhm.
how is that gonna, when you look at the situation, Pepe, don't you think that Donald Trump is, the way that he's trying to help his position, his situation with the oil market? You mentioned how the situation is influencing the oil market, but
Absolutely.
what would be the fastest solution for him? As you see, the war is somehow escalating, and he has to have some sort of solution for what's going on. And Iranians are not they don't believe in what the United States is talking about. They want to see what the United States is doing. That's the problem.
Action,
And the United
exactly.
States is escalating.
Absolutely. No, there's something I received a while ago, but I haven't had time to check. So I'm telling you firsthand that the Pakistani Minister of Interior, Naqvi, he arrived in Islamabad. No. The Pakistani Minister of Interior from Iran. He arrived in Islamabad today with a special message from Moshtaba, directly to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and obviously to Field Marshal Munir. But of course, we don't know the contents. But the fact that this special message was delivered today, it's immense. We could. It's quite possible that this is Mostaba's final position on MOU. It could be that's it. We're not interested anymore. It's absolutely pointless. Which, as you know, Nima, was his initial position, right? From the beginning, he said that he believed that the MOU was a waste of time, and he delegated to the Supreme National Council. Okay, if you guys reach a solid majority, okay, go ahead. That's what happened, and now we see the results. So he was right in the first place, just like his father. It's absolutely impossible to negotiate in good faith with the Americans. So this message arriving in Islamabad today may be basically Moshtaba explaining to the mediators, and of course they have a very, very good close contact. Look, we appreciate what you guys have been doing, but that's it. If the Americans want war, we're ready for war. I'm not so sure this special message is basically saying, please go ahead with your mediation efforts. There's no atmosphere for that at the moment. And it's not what the leadership in Tehran is thinking. They reevaluated the battlefield and they are ready for a war because they are convinced that the Americans will relaunch the war as soon as they can. Any way, any scenario, plausible, implausible, taking conquering Karg Island, which is beyond stupid, anything. And they're ready. And they prove that they are ready by the response to the American attacks. So the room of maneuver for any sort of diplomatic Arakshi style conversations it's at the moment is as narrow as it gets.
Here is what Donald Trump tweeted, Pepe. Every time Iran kills an American soldiers, they will pay for that killing many times over. The directive has been passed to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and Chairman of Joint Chief of Staff, Daniel Kane, and and every leader in the military. And it means that they're gonna, because in the aftermath of the attack, Iranian attack on Jordan, we haven't seen any important American attack in Iran. They were
You know,
attacking.
you know why? Because there was the diplomatic back channel was still relatively open. It's what we were discussing in the beginning of the show. The fact that he was begging Asim Munir to find an off ramp over and over again, the Pakistanis were working on it. The thing is, what they could possibly sell to the Iranians to convince the Iranians to go back to the table, considering that the Americans blew up the table itself? Nothing. So this is what happened during the weekend. But today is a different story. Today, the escalation ladder went up significantly, especially because this Yemeni intuition and understanding that they are planning a massive attack against the whole axis of resistance, obviously, the Iranians came to that conclusion at the same time or even before. Hezbollah also knows it. The militias in Iraq, the Hashd al-Shaabi in Iraq, they also know it. So that's the I would say the schizophrenic. There are birds. I can look at the birds flying around here. It's great. It keeps my mind, appeased, at least in the middle of all this falling. The schizophrenic element in all this, which by the way, the whole drama is extremely schizophrenic. As much as Trump has every incentive to find an off ramp and a way out, because if he waits for another 3-4 weeks, the consequences are going to be absolutely horrendous for him politically, for his cronies, for the American economy, for the global economy, etc. He keeps pushing towards the escalation ladder. Only as schizophrenic personalities do that, or psychopaths, or autistic sociopaths, and he fills in the blanks. He's all of the above when you think about it. So, is there anybody that could rescue him from himself? No. You cannot expect this stupid Marco Rubio, who was watching the game yesterday at the Met Stadium as well. The clownish secretary of forever was. These people are beyond mediocre, all of them. Nobody can rescue him from himself. And obviously, in the past, we could imagine, in other situations, of course, we could have Putin picking up the phone and said, look, you need help, I can help you. Now Putin doesn't give a damn. He wants to end the war in Ukraine. It's a completely different story. So he's not going to get a help from anybody. And the most dangerous character in this whole play is himself.
Pepe, I assume both Iran and Russia are now using the Chinese GPS, which is
no, Russians use GLONASS. No, Russians they use GLONASS, the Russian system. The Chinese Beidou, and the Iranians use Beidou. Soon we're going to have the whole global south using Beidou.
the whole system that somehow bring a lot of difficulties for the United States. And
yes, because it's impenetrable.
Yeah,
it's the same thing of using a Huawei smartphone, Nima. There are no backdoors. If you use an iPhone, yes, they're spying on you all the time. If you're using a Huawei, that's a completely different story. Same thing with GPS and Beidou. No wonder they are desperate. No wonder you have senators. The Chinese are harming us. They bypass GPS. They are supplying intel to the Iranians. Everybody knows that the Russians and the Chinese were supplying intel to the Iranians from the beginning at different levels. This has not changed. And especially now, the Chinese are supplying some extra stuff, which we cannot talk about it. But essentially, the Chinese are supplying key extra technological stuff to Iran as we speak. This is part of how the Chinese operate with extreme subtlety, sophistication, always in the background. They never announce anything that they are doing, and they are immensely active in the diplomatic level, especially via the Pakistani mediators. But in the background, they know that if Iran needs anything on a military information technology level, they are ready to provide it, and they are doing it.
How does
Once again, okay, go ahead, Nima. I'll save what I was going to say to the end. Go ahead, please.
how does Pakistan see the conflict between Yemen and Saudi Arabia?
We don't know. This was my first question that I already sent this question. I'm waiting for an answer. Maybe Larry, we're going to have a show tonight with Larry. Maybe he's going to get some answers. My show is tomorrow night. So I hope between tonight and tomorrow night, we're going to have, this was a direct question. Okay, so what are you going to do? You have a military pact with Saudi Arabia. They have been slapped with a naval blockade. What are you going to do? Are you going to attack Yemen on behalf of Saudi Arabia? Are you going to do nothing? Are you going to try to dissuade Saudi Arabia from applying their own blockade? Are you going to be mediators between Saudi Arabia and Yemen? There are an array of options to Pakistan now, and now they are in an absolutely horrible position. It's the last thing they needed at the moment when they're still trying to salvage the unsalvageable MOU. Now they have to, they could have to become mediators all over again between Saudis and Yemenis.